Aha, we have a winner. Oh, stick that in the bloopers. Hi everyone, Nick Goldsmith here from Hidden Valley Bushcraft, and today we're going to be talking about Campcraft. So Campcraft for me is all the things that take place once you've got to an area that you're going to go firm in and that you maybe want to sleep in, or maybe you're going to make it your base camp for the rest of the expedition. Once you've established camp and decided that's where you're going to be, Campcraft comes into its own. So we're just going to start the basics of that today. Leave a comment in the box below and let us know what you think Campcraft is all about and your ideas of Campcraft, because I'd really like to hear that. If you go down in the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. Ta-da! Boom! Our new camp. Campcraft 101. Today I'm going to be looking at taking you through how to make a tripod and how to do it using quick cordage, because you might not always have a shoelace or some rope or something to hand. Now obviously in my bag I've come well prepared today and I've probably got some paracord realistically, but if you didn't, we're going to go through that scenario. Now to me, one of the very basics of establishing and setting up a camp is deciding where you're perhaps going to have a fire, or where you're perhaps going to build a shelter, or whatever it is. There's going to be a central point or a central hub in which everybody's going to know about, ditch their kit and equipment there and start to shake out and sort themselves out and decide where they're going to sleep individually, usually centered around that one area. Nothing screams camp more than this kind of iconic symbol of tripod or a quadpod, depending on what you want it to do. The quadpod is just that little bit more stable. So if you were, for instance, going to make a fixed bushcraft camp, you might want something that can support the weight of a heavy industrial pot or a heavy grill or a giant camp kettle or anything like that. I'd go with the quadpod, and it's as simple as 4 straight pieces of whatever you can get your hands on held together. Now if you look closely, this one is in fact held entirely with natural cordage. That's all that's holding this together, is natural cordage. So we're going to move away from the camp here and head off into the wider forest and go through the motions of showing you guys how I go about it. So here in the British undergrowth, an absolute go-to of mine is going to be something like the Hazel. It grows these amazingly straight rods, and you can just see how straight the growth is on this thing, of every different thickness going. So you can see these are some of the main or larger parts. I should really add, the woodland that I'm in today, I'm so lucky to have access to, because it relatively hasn't seen a chainsaw for at least the last 40-50 years, and it's just an incredible resource. But it does come with some slight pitfalls in that, because nothing has been coppiced for a while, a lot of the coppice has been long overstood. Check out our video on cooking with chicken on skewers, and you'll see me talking about some hazel here and some of the ways that we harvest it. But something like this, a young whippy sunrod, I can bend with one hand quite easily, would be the perfect sort of growth for making some quick and easy natural cordage. So if I came into a woodland like this and I decided where I was going to make camp, and I didn't have the equipment I have on my back, and I wanted to go ahead and make myself a quick hasty shelter, one of the first things I would be thinking about doing is making some cordage or something that I can use to fix or hold the shelter in place, and using as many natural features around me as possible, fallen trees, so on and so forth. So in the interest of just making our tripod today, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make a withy, which is a very quick and easy natural cordage. Okay, so this is probably one of the quickest, fastest, strongest natural cordages you can make in a jiffy, certainly in the British outdoors. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my whippy sunshoot away from the base of the stool here, and I'm going to make sure I maintain pressure on that at all times. So you'll see what I'm doing. I'm really pulling away from it here, and I'm going to go up to this end. Now it might be worth, top tip, lick your fingers, because you're going to need some grip on here. Okay, and you're going to need, there's a bit of a wrist strengthening exercise. Now the way this stuff grows, inside it's like fibre optic cable, okay, twisting all the way up through the tree. And what you're looking to do is to disrupt those fibres, okay, and break them free of their binding. So we'll start right at one end, making sure we're keeping pressure, so all my pressure is going this way and pulling as well as twisting. And you should start to hear these tiny little cracking noises as I'm twisting, okay? Lots and lots of pressure being applied here. Now, as soon as I feel those fibres coming free, and you should be able to see them if I try and take off some of this bark, you'll be able to see what's happening here. And as soon as I twist it to the point where, like a piece of string, it wants to go round on itself, like that, it's a great example there. Then I'm going to fold it underneath, and that's when I know it's ready to become the next part of the handle, and I'm going to keep cranking down again until I hear it break free again. And it wants to do the same thing and turn on itself. I'm going to fold it underneath again, all the while, guys, keeping pressure on that base. Okay, I'm going to just keep moving and repeating this process. Just hand over hand motion. Don't let go until you've got the other one over the top. Make sure you keep the pressure on that bottom bit. Now, see if I can get another one out. I'm not going to lie, my wrists are getting a little bit tired now. Now, the interest of not completely ruining the stool, once I've got all the way down here, I could just keep twisting until it snaps off. So what I am going to do is just go ahead and cut that off, so it's got a chance to grow back again. Now what I'm left with, and really importantly, is this pointy tail. Now this tail is of importance. Hold on to it. Okay, and this should kind of hold itself under its own steam now. Now traditionally what I could have gone and done now is gone and put it down in the stream bed, okay, and leave it overnight to ret it if I really wanted to go the whole hog. But as it is right now, this is top cordage, and what I should be doing with it, stowing it away somewhere safe so I can pull it out in just a moment or two. The next piece of the puzzle, which is going to be making the tripod itself. So now I need to go and find the requisite materials to make my tripod. I'm going to be looking for some more hazel. Probably not going to keep taking from the same stool, so I'm just going to take a wander through here and see how we get on. So this stool doesn't really have anything of the right diameter for me. It's got lots of different sizes. We have a winner. So as I approach this stool here, I can see straight away two absolutely blinding rods. They're really good, straight and true, heading all the way up. So both of these would most definitely provide me with the straight timber I would need to create my tripod. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to harvest these out. One of the first things I need to do is get rid of any sort of detritus rubbish in the way. Okay, and it's these two here that I'm really interested in. So I think these are going to make absolutely perfect, good straight pieces, easy to work with, that I can bind together with my little withy here when I decide to set camp. Typical of the great British outdoors. Do a little bit of walking around, a little bit of talking. Weather has changed again. It was overcast when I came out, and now I'm absolutely roasting once again. But that's the importance of having layers. You can take them off, you can put them back on. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest out these two good straight pieces of hazel, and then we're going to carry them all of about 15 feet that way, and we're going to go and set up our tripod. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this one out first, I think. So I'm going to go nice and low down by the base, and I'm going to put in my first cut in the direction I want this thing to fall. Until the saw begins to pinch. Okay, and at that point I know that it's time to do the cut in at the back. Now, as thick as this timber is, okay, it's going to give me the unit of measure to come up the back side of it here. And as it grows like fibre optic cable, as I explained earlier, when the two sets of grain meet and I place a little bit of stress on this, you should hear a crack and we should get a nice step cut. Okay, so there was the crack, and now it should fall straight through here if I keep going. Okay, cool, and I can go back to this now and tidy it up. And so this has a chance to come back. Right, get this out of the way. Okay, so once I've worked out where along my tripod I want to cut this, bearing in mind I probably want to go just a bit taller than I am, I'm then going to go ahead and cut it. Now, to save myself bending down and working harder than I need to, all I'm going to do, if I'm right-handed, is I'm going to place my left knee over the piece of work and trap it across the front of my right knee. Now, the fact that it's still touching the floor gives me the friction required to make that third point of contact. And so all I need to do now is make the cut, lean over, get hold of the piece that I want. It's a good, safe working technique. Okay, now I have one piece that I want. I'm going to lean that up against there. Use that as my unit of measure even. For where my next cut is going to go. And any wispy bits like this, you're going to want to take those off as well, guys. Remember to work with the direction of growth. Okay, so that's 2. And now I just need to source myself a third, which is going to come off of the stool here. If you do have any brash left over, and in the interest of not suppressing all of these bluebells here, I'm going to go ahead and just drag this off to one side where there's not so many, just so that it's not completely in the way. In the essence of exploring the Billy Basic fundamentals of Campcraft, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up this tripod now. I'm going to use this piece of natural cordage, which I've just quickly harvested from the natural world around me. I could of course use a shoelace, paracord, a piece of rope or other, but I think this is a great skill that really, once you've got the knowledge inside your head, it's going to save you time and effort and money probably. You don't have to go buying materials and chopping down bits of paracord and potentially leaving them all over the place, along with the shelters, all over the British countryside or further afield. So now that I've taken this all apart, you can see I've got myself some really nice, and you can go ahead and just make it that bit more supple. Some nice supple rope, which is really quite strong. So to make my tripod, there's 2 different ways I could go about this. One of them could see me orientating 2 next to each other this way, and the third being flipped over like so, okay? And then I could go with a kind of a Billy Basic lashing or bracing method, which you typically use with string. But as I'm going to be demonstrating natural cordage today, we're going to go back to the old school, okay? Keep these 3 in line with each other. So go ahead and line these up so that the thicker pieces are at the bottom. If you want to, you can tidy these up if your OCD is screaming at you. Guys, we're in the forest, it really doesn't matter. The forest floor is soft enough, it'll probably eat most of that corner there. Take your rope, head up near the top. Now, you don't want to go right the way to the very, very top. You want to come down about a foot. Okay, give yourself some play. Now, the top tip that I can say here is start in the middle. Okay, start in the middle and just basically cross this over. Just do a basic crossover. That's your number 1. Okay, and then as you come back round again, make sure this is tight as you can kind of muster with your fingers. This is where it gets interesting generally. You can see how all these fibres have really kind of come apart. Point to note, this technique is great in the springtime. It's much harder to pull off later in the year. Okay, then we're going to go around once more, except this time I'm going to leave this tail out for now, and I'm going to just rotate the whole lot round onto the side. Okay, now what I'm looking to do is to start weaving this little end, which may or may not break off, sometimes it does, up underneath it. Ah, there we go, classic, just as I said it. Now it's really about getting this big pointy end that I was on about up underneath here. Don't worry about the little one snapping, it always happens. Sometimes you get lucky and it doesn't, and sometimes it does. Now, if you can kind of chase that round once and then go back through the same hole again, a bit like a sort of a timber hitch, that's great, because it's all creating tension that you need. And if you can see, if you can get it to go up through there one last time, that really would be spectacular. And then try and pull it level. Okay, that just might do it. So what you've now basically got is your three pieces held together with your natural cordage, and it's on there pretty tight. And you can see that end sticking out, and this little end is what's left of it. I'll try and do some more wraps with it if I can. Get that through there. No, it's just going to keep breaking off. Right, let's go with that, see how we get on. Now, next thing I'm going to need to do is stand this thing up. Okay. Just start to open it out, see how it reacts. Okay, take a little look at that. In its basic and purest form, you have your tripod. Let's make it a little bit wider. And don't be afraid to manipulate and turn these around. You can hear that, you can hear how tight that is. And that's really what I'm looking for. So I want this thing to be super tight. Okay, now here's the bit where I go and put my money where my mouth is. And I'm going to try and hang off of this, and I am, bearing in mind I'm 100 kilo. It'll either work or it won't. Here we go. Is it tight enough? That's the question. Yes, I guess it is. That's pretty damn strong. Now think about this, guys. In its absolute basic, stripped back, most purest essence, I've got myself a little shelter. I've also got potentially the beginnings of a natural shelter. If I was to take a long piece and run that away here, okay, I'd have an entrance. I could maybe come in from this direction, shutter all of this off, or take a pole out the back here actually, shutter all of that side off, or maybe even set up a second tripod and put a beam between from one to the other and make the beginnings of an open lean-to. The options are pretty much endless. I've seen people use these, connect two pieces here, run them over to another one to form a bed. I've seen all kinds of stuff. But let's just have a little close-up at what we've made, because this is Campcraft in its purest form. It's the basics of beginning to use what's around you. I've really enjoyed today. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm Nick Goldsmith from Hidden Valley Bushcraft, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Please leave some comments in the box below, and look forward to having a chat with you.